You can help support and promote the show by purchasing our merchandise at cafepress.com/Packard Pokes At, where you can choose from a variety of different items like hoodies, hats, and bears. Oh my! Put a Packard Pokes At mug in your hands today.
Do you like Packard Pokes At and want to hear it on demand and on the go? Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. Available on iOS, Android, Nook, and iPad.
This is Packard Pokes At, and I'm poking at your news. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another fine edition of Packard Pokes At. I am your immutable and unmutable host, Packard Sonic. And join us tonight from the far middle of Michigan is Dave, your damned.
I had to swallow some coffee. Hello.
See, that's what you need on this show. You need coffee to stay awake because we're so boring.
Oh, God, so droll.
And join us from the far west coast is Connie, Practical Magic 9.
Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist? Hello.
It's been replaced with the MASH. The Monster MASH.
The Monster MASH. Yes.
This is episode 186. I remembered this time.
Yay.
I forgot during the staff meeting that we had. I forgot the number there. But that's okay. Anyway, we've got some good stories for you tonight. So let's get going to our first topic for this evening.
Building a better future, science and technology.
We've talked a lot on this show about how the federal government sometimes will look or pretend to be somebody else online so they can catch criminals. And tonight's incident is not any exception. Apparently, the DEA, or the Drug Enforcement Agency, as it's well known as, had a woman in custody, and they took her photos, and they took her name, and they opened up a fake account using her name to catch a person that they knew that she was talking to. As a friend, somebody had commented on one of her pictures or a post that she had made. So they're doing this to catch this guy. Now, basically, they did not get any permission from her to do this. So she's suing them, and the Department of Justice initially defended the DEA's action, but they're now saying they're reviewing the case, and the lawsuit is expected to go into mediation that could result in a settlement. And if Facebook has already taken down the fake account, which it says it did, for violating the terms of service, the lady will win. Her name is Sandra Arquette, and that's why she's suing this federal government for doing this. And this could happen to any one of us. If the DEA decides, hey, you're looking at somebody or you know somebody that is a known drug user, felon, whatever, just imagine for just a moment if they were to do this to you, that the shit that could come down on you personally. I mean, for me, this would be tragic because, you know, I have to protect my kids. And I don't know if this woman has any children, but if she does, the DEA is putting them in danger. Dave, your thoughts?
Oh, I think this is a terrible infringement of her privacy. She did not have a Facebook account before this, and that's probably by choice, I would imagine, considering almost everyone does.
Pretty much. I resisted a long time before I got a Facebook account.
Yeah, I mean, if someone doesn't have a Facebook account, there's probably a reason why, or they don't want to participate.
Right. There's a lot of people that don't have one.
She did agree to have her phone examined by the police, and they looked through her pictures and all of that, and she consented to the contents of her phone being used to find someone. However, I don't think she could have ever expected that they would pose as her on social media, and then on top of which she never gave consent for them to take pictures and then post them online. I mean, if someone's going to search your home, if they find pictures, to then take those pictures and post them for all to see, that would be, I would imagine, an infringement on your rights.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's what happened here. I mean, they took photos from her Facebook page, some of them of her scantily clad. Not just her, they took pictures of her niece and children.
Okay, and she does have children.
She
They
has a son. Yeah.
those. What's that?
She had a son, and
and
you
her
said she
son.
had children, and I said, yeah, a son.
The police exposed her personal life on a level that they should never have. I understand that she consented to some search of her properties, which may imply a seizure of her properties. I know that's what the defense is, because she is suing the police department, but I still don't see how this can be legal in any way. I'll be interested to see how this lawsuit goes. I do understand that she has completed the terms of her probation, so at this point, she shouldn't have to consent to anything, I'd imagine.
Right. Yeah, just because you're incarcerated by the federal government does not give them the right to use your image or your personality or whatever online in an online presence. I mean, I don't see any reason why they think they can. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, police in the past have set up accounts that they've posed to be someone fake, a fake person, but
Yeah.
I don't know of any other situation where they've actually commandeered someone's actual identity and used it to go directly toward, to pursue people that are acquaintances of this person.
Actually, I can think of times where they have done this. Of course, it's usually done with the consent of the family, is when they have somebody that's like a sexual predator, and then they have the person who's pretending to be the child in that case, and they try to entice them to meet or whatever. So
but that's with the consent of the family. I mean,
right, exactly.
It was unbeknownst to her that they were creating an account in her name using her images and her family's images. I mean, it extended past her person.
No, you're absolutely right, and that was my point. They had consent to do that in those instances, but when it came to this woman, she did not give consent. Connie, your thoughts?
Well, better law enforcement coming at the expense of civil liberties is not law enforcement. That's crime. That's criminal, I think. And I've always thought that undercover cops and sting operations are extremely dicey detective and police work. It really borders on... I don't like lying for any reason. It just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. This woman's story kind of, reads her how she was raised or wasn't raised. I mean, father in jail, mom who's an alcoholic, sexually abused, and she wound up in a bad relationship, bad situation, and basically, she was given money to go to the store sometimes, but for the most part, she was in lockdown, and she was with a drug dealer and got caught in that whole, basically the lower dragnet, and they were doing this to fish for the bigger fish.
Oh yeah.
And she had already been beaten by this boyfriend or one of his friends before, according to his website. I don't know. I really hope that it becomes really clear that no, you don't get to peek into our privacy. I mean, as it was just last week, there was the story about how the some FBI guy wrote a op-ed piece or editorial piece about how he was upset that the new iPhone, they can't open it. The Apple cannot give them the information because it's basically locked. And I'm like, look, this is ridiculous. This is security to the point where we're all being treated. People are being treated like criminals. And yeah, but her safety was definitely, I think it was in jeopardy. And it's really sad because she worked with them. She was compliant. That's why she didn't get life. And that's a whole other story about. I think the Drug Enforcement Agency needs to go away. I don't know that I'm not a drug user myself, but the whole thing just stinks. I don't think that the war on drugs has worked at all, and this is just another shining case of how inept police officers are being these days. So I'm hoping that she gets everything that she needs to have come to her, and that they shape up and stop thinking they can just do whatever they want to catch a bad guy. It doesn't make sense. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. The fact that the DEA did this at all, it just bugs me to shit. The fact is that DEA thought, hey, we've got this woman in custody. Let's just usurp her personal identity and just use it for anything we want to. That's almost as, in my opinion, that's almost as bad as somebody stealing your identity and opening a fake charge account. I don't see any difference between the two. I mean, they're both highly illegal.
Why didn't he just use pictures of his own wife or his sister or his mom? I mean, how would he feel about that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to our next topic for this evening.
Well, I'm not the brightest crayon in the box.
Indiana. That's a great state. I've driven through it. Very flat. At least on the highways I was driving on, and a lot of curves. When you're out in Indiana, sometimes you have to watch out for the police. Because, that's my job, is I have to drive around a lot, and I have to constantly make sure I'm not speeding or doing anything wrong, because it's just so easy to do the littlest thing to get the attention of the police. And sometimes you do that, and sometimes it's my fault, and sometimes it's whoever's fault. Now, if you get pulled over, like when Ellen Bogan got pulled over by the Indiana State Trooper, she got a ticket for making an illegal pass, which I don't understand what an illegal pass is. Maybe he thought they didn't make the connection with the football, I guess, or whatever. But he gave her the warning ticket for speeding, and then he threw in something else, a religious pamphlet to ask her to acknowledge that she was a sinner. That's a little unusual. Now, Bergen, his 60s, suing Hamilton, saying his on-the-job actions violated her First and Fourth Amendment rights. Bergen said that Hamilton kept the police car lights flashing during the traffic stop, but after the officer handed her over the warning ticket, he asked her if she had a home church and if she accepted Jesus Christ as her savior. Apparently, he works for also advertised for a radio program called Policing for Jesus Ministries, hosted by Trooper Dan Jones. I read this, and I became ill just from reading this. I mean, this woman said she didn't know if, while he was proselytizing to her, if she could leave, because he has, a gun, a badge, and had the flashing lights on in his car, and, when they do that, they make sure everybody knows around you that, hey, there's a police officer here, and he's supposedly doing his job. So she didn't realize that she could have left. He pulls out the pamphlet, says, "You know anything about Jesus Christ?" He said, "You're done here. I'm out of here. Goodbye." And she could have just left. But the way cops are nowadays, she probably did the right thing by staying put, because he could have said that she left during the ticket or whatever excuse he wanted to come up with, and then probably shot him or shot at her or chased her down or whatever and chopped up even more charges. There's a lot of cases where stuff like that happens, so it's not uncommon for them to do stupid things like this. I mean, the cops. So in that instance, I'm glad she stayed put, but in the same instance, I'm very upset. The fact is that this cop thought he had a right to proselytize while he was on duty, although the police station there says that they don't have any specific rules against that, which is really stupid, because it's pretty much in the First Amendment, church and state are separate, and the state, it would be that fucking guy at that fucking time. Dave, your thoughts?
Couple of things. One, improper passing would be either unsafe blind passing, that would be passing if you're going into oncoming traffic, or if you're coming up to a curve or something like that, or a curve, where you could create a hazard that you could potentially crash into someone. Okay. That's one example. Or in most states, it's illegal to pass on the right.
Oh yeah, now that would be if I see someone pass on the right, I'd pull them over.
Right. So those are examples of improper passing in a traffic scenario, as opposed to like a football scenario.
Right. I was kind of
American football.
I was making a little joke there with the football there. So.
Okay. Secondly, as someone who firmly believes in the separation of church and the state, and I just think this is absurd. When the police officer is wearing their uniform, that uniform makes them a representative of the state and of the government. And as a representative of the state and the government, you cannot endorse religion.
Right.
And I mean, I know that people are going to make the comparison to like the Jehovah's Witnesses or the Mormons going door to door or something, but this is not that situation. This is someone being pulled over This is someone being stopped and then being proselytized to by someone who is in a position of authority over you. When you have, at a traffic stop, until you're told that you're free to go, you can assume you're being detained. And therefore, you're being bullied by this officer. It's absolutely inappropriate in so many ways. If you look at it as someone in a position of authority who is taking advantage of their authority, or if you're looking at it as a government representative who is, we pay the police salary. We pay them to protect and serve us.
Right.
And we are paying that through our tax dollars. And our tax dollars cannot be used to proselytize or endorse any religion over another. And that's exactly what this officer is doing. He is breaking her First Amendment rights, and
Absolutely.
It's absolute bullshit.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Connie, your thoughts?
Yeah, the David Burston, who is the Indiana State Police spokesman, said that they don't really have a specific policy that addresses officers who distribute religious materials. So the confusion goes all the way to a spokesman for the state police also about what exactly can and cannot be done while people are in uniform. I wish that she'd said, I'm using my right to remain silent. Got his badge number or something. I don't know. That would have. I sat there thinking, what would I have done?
Right.
That'd be like, what? I don't think I could have been quiet, actually.
I probably would. I know I wouldn't have been.
And then the American Family Association representative in Indiana, Mr. Micah Clark, was saying that, he sees it differently. And he told the newspapers that while a traffic stop might not have been the best time to quiz somebody about faith, it doesn't mean the officer should lose his right to free speech. Well, yeah, it does. It's no. There's a lot of times that people aren't, supposed to talk about things when you're working. And like I said, especially if you're a representative of the state like that. So
absolutely.
More power to this gal. Let's make it clear to the officers in Indiana what they should and should not do.
Right.
I did try to find the Trooper Dan thing, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And the church that he got his pamphlet from, a First Baptist church in Indiana, they don't have a website, so I couldn't confirm or deny that this Trooper Dan radio show is anything outside of some station out there in the middle of Indiana somewhere.
He's probably got about 2 watts, and he reaches the end of the block.
Exactly. So
this is JW Jesus Ministries, reaching all the way down to 4th Street.
What is wrong with our police officers? I don't know. I'm feeling really, really strange about all of them now.
Yeah, tell me about it. This is just so bizarre that this cop thought he could have so much power that he goes, yeah, they won't do nothing to stop me. I'll just go around and shove religion and Jesus down everybody's throat while having a traffic stop. Christ. I wonder how many people. I wonder how many people he's done this to, and hasn't gotten caught before. Or this was probably the first person that ever said, "Hey, I feel like my rights were violated here."
Well, I know what we could do. We could do if that happened with us. We could say, well, "Yeah, but do you have a minute to talk about the flying spaghetti monster?" Because
I'd like to talk about the flying spaghetti monster. Would you like to talk about that?
You have a moment?
You have a moment or two?
See, Jesus has the wine. We have the pasta.
Yeah.
It's all,
I would say, officer, are you going to use that gun if I drive away? Because I really don't want to hear this right now. I really have to go to the bathroom. Can you provide me one? Give me that pamphlet. I need to wipe my ass.
I'm sorry about your imaginary friend.
I'm sorry. Is your imaginary friend butthurt now?
Oh, no.
We don't want you to be butthurt, but we do want you to contact us, and we would like to have you, if you would like to, make a donation to the show. If you would like to go to patreon.com/Packard Pokes At, then you can donate as little as $1 and once a month, and It would really help us out, keep the lights on around here, because that's very important. Otherwise, if we don't keep the lights on, we don't have a show. It kind of helps. It kind of helps with electricity bills, Anyway, if you would like to get in contact with us, we have other ways we can do that. We're going to give you that information right now.
You should contact us by email at ppapodcast or packardpokesat@gmail.com, and follow the show on Twitter as @packardpokesat, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/packardpokesat, or just type Packard Pokes At into the Facebook search bar. Call our Google Voice at 662-709-PPAP or 662-709-7727, and leave a short message and we will play it on the show. Join in the show live Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time at vaughnlive.tv/PackardPokesAt. Download and rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Mixler Radio, and watch the show on YouTube. Visit our show page at packardpokesat.wordpress.com for links to the stories, and purchase merchandise from cafepress.com/PackardPokesAt to support the show. For everyone that rates us, you are awesome sauce.
All right, well, let's get on to our next topic for this evening.
Your own personal Jesus. Someone to hear your prayers, someone who's there. Your own personal Jesus.
And we have a video for you tonight. We're going to be talking with Fucktard Fischer. Well, we won't be talking with him, fortunately, because, we don't want to bring the show down by that much intelligence. But he is saying his stupidity stuff again, and we're going to show you that video right now.
They knew that this essentially was going to result in the forced legalization of marriage, ultimately in all 50 states, almost immediately in 35 states, in just a matter of time, very likely, before the rest are compelled to submit. It's kind of like Islam, It's convert, submit, or die a political death. Convert, submit, or be banished. I mean, that's really what we're dealing with. This is the same kind of totalitarian strain that you see in Islam, and this is the gay Gestapo pushing this, and their message is basically the same as Islam. Convert, either agree with us when it comes to the homosexual agenda, or submit, roll over, be quiet, be silent, don't say a word, sit in the corner with a bag over your head, or it's war. We are going to take you out. We are going to kneecap you. We are going to obliterate you. We are going to squash you. We are going to oppress you. We are going to repress you. We are going to put you out of business. We are going to fine you, and we are going to send you to re-education camp. And if that doesn't work, we're going to send you to jail. I mean, that is the message of the homosexual lobby. And if that sounds just like Islam to you, it's because it is. It's exactly the same dark totalitarian dynamic that you have in Islam.
Well, did you know that if you're gay, you're part of the gay Gestapo? I didn't know that. I'm not part of it. I don't even get the pamphlet. What the fuck? Oh, my God. And the thing is, he's talking about the gay people are going to repress the Christians. You're 80% of the fucking population of the fucking planet. You are so repressed. Oh, my God. Jesus criminy. This guy, wow. And it forced marriage? No, they used to force marriages in your religion, Brian. They would, arrange marriages. That's kind of another word for forced marriage, just a little nicer term for it. People will get married to the person they want to, the person they love. Just because gay people can get married doesn't mean it's forced. Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah, this guy's completely missed the boat on logic here.
Yeah.
Where do I start? I mean, he's comparing tolerance to Islam right now. He's comparing equality to Islam. He is creating a false narrative where there's some agenda from the homosexuals, which is a popular meme.
Yeah.
However, it's completely nonsense. All homosexuals want is the equal rights to marry and love one another, and it doesn't impact other people whatsoever. There's no reason to oppose equality except for religious doctrines that instruct people to oppose equality.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. You know, there's Christians have a history of this dichotomy. The first Christians thought that the persecution was wrong when the pagans did it, but then they practice it on one another. The first Protestants blamed persecution in the Romans, but then practiced it against the Puritans. And
Yep.
I mean, it goes back and forth, where they claim persecution, but at the same time have no problem persecuting another group.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's a common meme within Christianity that they are the persecuted ones when, in fact, they are the ones going out and persecuting people.
Yep.
As far as tolerance and tolerating the intolerance and all of that, I think that the idea of tolerance itself is a bit of a paradox.
Mm-hmm.
You know, while we want to live in a tolerant society, if we tolerate intolerance, then all tolerance, it has the potential to go away. We can lose tolerance if we tolerate intolerance. And therefore, there's this paradox that exists within the concept itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that tolerance is good, and we should be tolerant of everyone. But those who are intolerant should not be tolerated.
Yeah, I know. That one always makes my head explode too. It's like when I try to explain it, it just makes my brain leak out my ears because it feels like it's the snake eating its tail type thing, you know. But it's not.
When people preach intolerance, it places them outside of the society and outside of the group.
Okay, that's a good way of putting it.
And as far as I'm concerned, I think that we should structure societies for what's best for inside the group and inside the society.
Mm-hmm.
And so tolerance within the society is the ideal situation in my mind. And those who are intolerant are placing themselves outside of the society. And it's a, you know, they're ostracizing themselves in a way while trying to ostracize others.
Right.
Anyhow, I mean, that's my view on it.
Okay. Connie, your thoughts?
Well, he is so violent. Fischer is so violent.
Oh,
I mean, he jumps right off the bus into the gutter town, and he talks about, you know, putting bags over his head, and they're breaking his kneecaps, and blah, blah, blah. You know, all going to be goose stepping, but I go, you know, but...
Yeah, because
fabulous kinky boots, though. You know, what else do you want to do? I guess.
Yeah, because I see those gang of roving of gay people all walk around like a bat, like it's like they're in a musical. Bah, 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 bah.
Well, and I want to know who the god
bat.
of gayness is. I vote for Freddie Mercury. Okay. I hear he'll come back one day, and when he does, the world will be just absolutely fabulous and will rock. So, you know, he talks about what's immoral. Bigotry and fear-mongering are immoral, and hatred is what is unhealthy. And choosing to remain ignorant in the face of the proof that homosexual behavior is a natural thing is perverse. He is perverse, and just he's so uptight about this. According to the Right-Wing Watch, evidently he had appeared on CNN, and Carol Costello threw him off of the program, and so this is kind of an epic rant in response to that. But no, I don't understand somebody having this much hatred just because of who somebody loves, because what two adults do consensually in the privacy of their own lives does not affect him in the least. And
yeah, that's what I never understood. Every time when I talk to Christians about this, and I talk to a lot of them, unfortunately, they seem to think, well, if gay marriage, it's just the end of everything. I'm like, how? But they can never explain how. Oh, no, well, the gay people get married, blah, blah, blah. I was like, but how does that affect you? And I've had a few of them finally admit, well, it doesn't, but my religious book of magic spells says, and like, I don't give a shit what your book of magic spells says. It doesn't affect you personally? No. Fuck off and die. I mean, really. Jesus Christ.
I think underneath it all, he implies that what's going to happen is he's going to be forced not just to accept gays sitting next to him, but that he'll have to run the risk that he won't know who's straight and who's not.
Torvy in the chat
And
room.
you might accidentally shake hands with somebody who's gay. I don't know.
Yeah, then the gay might rub off
It'll
on him.
rub off. Yeah.
Yeah. Torvy in the chat room said this guy also compares the secret Nazi police to the gay police. I'm like, yeah. What I'd like to know which gay police that is. You know, he must be thinks he lives in Islam and all those policemen are actually all gay people walking around with guns and batons and things like that. Those are the gay police. No, if they were gay police, their suits wouldn't be blue. They'd be fabulous. I mean, I'm sorry.
Now, aren't you thinking of Springtime for Hitler?
Oh yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Springtime for
Hitler and Germany.
Do 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 do. You know, do a little dance now, Packard.
Da 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 da. Anyway. All right, well, let's get on to our next topic for this evening.
Fly me to the moon. Let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
And on tonight's Did You Know They're an Atheist, we're going to talk about Joaquin Phoenix. Did I pronounce that right?
Joaquin.
Joaquin?
Joaquin.
Okay.
I don't know.
Dave was trying to help me pronounce this guy's name before, and I was like completely murdering his name. I apologize. Anyway, he says in a quote, "I don't believe in God. I don't believe in an afterlife. I don't believe in the soul. I don't believe in soul. I don't believe in anything. I think it's totally right for people to have their own beliefs if it makes them happy. But to me, it's a pretty preposterous idea." And that's from Nylon Magazine, winter of 2008. Dave, your thoughts?
He's an interesting guy. His film "I'm Still Here," I think we were talking about it in the meeting. He essentially faked a nervous breakdown for a documentary, and went around and in real life did interviews on David Letterman and all sorts of different shows, and even started a rap career, all sorts of stuff, just to kind of troll the community and culture. It was really interesting. As far as his personal life goes, I think he's probably extremely influenced by his background being brought up in a cult. His parents were cult members, and he was raised in a cult. The cult was actually called, at the time it was called the Children of God. Today it's called Family International.
Are you sure it's not the American Family Association?
No, it's a religious movement that is evangelical, but it's very, very, very strange. They spread a message of salvation, apocalypticism, spiritual revolution. They call the world outside of their cult the system.
The System. That sounds like a horror movie. The System.
It's very weird. On top of, I learned this. I had no idea about this practice before researching this. Apparently, they have something called flirty fishing. Which is,
yes.
Yeah, did you know about this?
Yes, I did.
Oh man,
I'm glad
so
somebody
strange.
did. What the hell is flirting fishing? I mean, does it sound like
Flirty little fishes.
Is that
they
like
would proselytize by going out. They would proselytize by sending, the pretty young people out there to bring people into the cult, and actually flirt with them and bring them back.
Yeah, they took it as far as prostitution for Jesus. Essentially, they would go out and masturbation, oral sex, penetrative sex. If there was penetrative sex that ensued, it was termed as loving sexuality.
Really?
It was also counted as deep witness.
Well, where do I sign up? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Witness.
Deep witness.
Oh, my goodness.
Deep witness.
Women who objected to participating were bluntly described as God's whores and hookers for Jesus.
Yeah.
Who were admonished because they did not. They had let self and pride enter into the situation.
Don't you know you're supposed to open your legs for Jesus?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's absolutely insane. I've been reading up on it because this led me into this entire world of stuff I had no idea about. Apparently, they're using Matthew 4:19 as justification for this practice. It's just absolutely absurd. It took place from 1974 until 1987, when it was officially abandoned because of AIDS.
It took AIDS to bring down the religion. What can
the religion still exists.
Oh.
The cult still exists to this day. They've renamed themselves Family International because Children of God had too much of a negative connotation associated. They've actually been through the name Family of... they started off as Children of God, then they got a lot of negative attention. They renamed themselves Family of Love. Then they renamed themselves The Family. Then they renamed themselves Family International, where they currently are Family International.
The Family. Actually, I've heard of that group. I think there's an American group called The Family, or the.
This is an American group.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard of that one, The Family. I think they're still around too.
It's very interesting. So he was actually raised in this cult, and it probably has a lot to do with the fact that he does not believe in God, the afterlife, or a soul today.
Yes, Dawkins Dog in the chat room said, "Spread the word. The word is leg." So.
That's right.
If you don't spread your legs, you're a whore. No, that's the other way around. No. I don't believe in such shaming. I don't believe in calling people whore or things like that. That's just wrong. That is just wrong. What you do with your body is your own business. But to say that you have to do it for Jeebus.
Very, very strange.
It is.
I'll also note that he's the little brother of River Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. It does say here that he did quit acting a couple of times, at least several, after his brother's death. Mm-hmm. But he remained in demand as an on-screen talent, and he appeared in The Parenthood, The Yards, Gladiator, and Walking the Line among his notable roles. Kind of your thoughts?
Yeah, he's a really fascinating actor. If I look at this, I look at how he approaches his roles in movies, it seems like he's very much into like method acting, totally immersing himself in the roles. I remember watching him when he had his so-called breakdown. I'm like, and I've saying to myself, are we being punked? Is this a role? But he was just off the wall weird, and he's got quite an interesting resume.
I'm known to be weird a few times now and then. I mean, you're all being punked. I've been doing this for 3 years for no reason. No, I'm kidding.
He gets paid big money to be weird, right?
Right, exactly.
He says here, the reason I keep making movies is I hate the last thing I did. I'm trying to rectify my wrongs. And that's actually kind of awesome. You know, you as an artist, I've heard this from, painters and musicians and everybody. You love the project you're in until you're done, and then you want the next thing. Mm-hmm. And and he was the one who found his brother River. It was a club that was owned by Johnny Depp, and he found his brother. He'd overdosed on the steps, and Joaquin had to call. He called 911 on it. So he doesn't like to talk about it. He says, I'm not gonna talk about it. I can't believe people would be so crass as to ask him about that. But I guess it must be one of the horrors of being a celebrity. Everybody feels like they know you.
Yeah.
You can just ask personal stuff. So.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that. It's like, you get to be famous, and then everybody wants to know everything. They want to go through your garbage. They want to go through. I haven't happened, at least never. I mean, I'm not famous enough yet.
He owns cats, and he's friends with Keanu Reeves. So I know Crystal's not in the room right now, but woohoo! So
maybe you can get in touch with him to get in touch with Keanu, and then
that's right.
There you go. See,
you need to sit down.
You need to sit down with him. I told you, stalking method. It always works. No, I'm kidding.
Evidently, well, that's off the subject. But I guess Keanu Reeves' house has been broken into a second time, and it wasn't me. Not a time with it me. Or Crystal.
That will explain why Crystal's not here tonight. No, I'm kidding.
You stole pigeon.
I was joking. Now you've confirmed it. Hey, what can I say? Any last thoughts on this?
Oh, just he's a real, seems like a very fascinating person. He thinks about a lot of things, and I just think he'd be an interesting person to have a conversation with. Not just about atheism or anything, but just about a lot of stuff. So it's exciting.
Yes,
and,
it is.
I'm glad that Dave suggested him. So thank you, Dave.
Yes, thank you, Dave. All right, well, if you like to know, we'll have a link more about him in the show notes. And you can find that over at packardpokes@wordpress.com. And if you can't make a donation, please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio, wherever you're hearing this, and please give us a rating. 5-star would be best. And please come to the show. Bring more friends. Next week, we will open the phone lines again. We're not doing it tonight because it's a short show and we don't have a whole lot of time. Please come back next week if you would like to contribute to the show. The number for next week will be 857-216-3200. Use PIN number 35368. Call in about 10 minutes before the show starts, and we'll get you in and for your comments on the topic subject at the time. But in the meantime, I want to thank everybody for coming, and we will be back next week with our regular longer show. This has been Packard Pokes At. We just poked at your news.
And that's a wrap.